Heartland Highways is made possible in part by Consolidated Communications offers customers high-speed internet, digital phone service, and digital TV service packages that include high-definition channels, DVR, and hundreds of sports, movies, and music channels. More information on these services is available at consolidated.com. Coming up next on Heartland Highways, it's all about collecting.
First, we'll head to Pana for their annual Classic Bicycle Show, held under the big top of the Chautauqua Pavilion.
Then it's off to Decatur for a look at David Lee Allen's Coca Cola Collection, which includes rare items like this 1970s Levi's denim machine van.
Coca Cola gave away 10, but then other places, bottling plants, radio stations found out what Coke was doing, and they ordered about another 90 vans or so. So there's roughly around 100 whenever the whole contest started. Well, now after all these years, there's only about 13 left that we can find. I have 3 of the 13.
Finally, we'll meet Dave Boyer of Strasburg, whose collecting hobby has him hooked.
Find out more next on Heartland Highways.
Thanks for joining us this week at our home away from home in Flesser's Candy Kitchen in Tuscola, Illinois.
You may recall a story we did in Pana, Illinois about their Chautauqua Auditorium. Well, we returned in the summer of 2008 to attend their classic and vintage bicycle show. Maybe you got one for Christmas. Remember riding it everywhere around town. We're envious when your best friend got the latest fastback Schwinn. Whether it had 1 speed or 10, most of us probably have fond memories of the bicycle from our childhood.
And people will come up and say, I had one just like that when I was a kid. Well, if everybody had one just like that when they was a kid, there would have been a lot of them, but that's the bike they wish they had when they was a kid. I know that's the way I was.
To take a trip down memory lane, you only need to get yourself to Pana, Illinois. Here you'll find their annual Classic Bicycle Show and Swap Meet, held under the big top of the Chautauqua Pavilion.
Back in 1997, I restored a bicycle that was my wife's and her brothers and sisters, and we went to some bike shows and kind of got interested in it. And I was talking to the Secretary of the Chamber of Commerce about, that'd be something nice for Pana, because there wasn't anything in downstate Illinois, and because we usually went to Indiana or someplace. And he said, well, do it. So we had a little show downtown on the street, and then the next year it got bigger, and first thing you know, it was so big that we didn't want it down there anymore, so we came out to the park.
Sponsored by the Pana Chamber and held in June, the show brings together collectors, vendors, and anybody who just loves old bicycles.
And we have classes for each decade, pre-1930s, and then 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s on up. We have a special interest class if somebody shows up with a bicycle that really don't fit anywhere else. We have, a couple years ago, we started a real interesting class as a classic pair. In other words, a lot of people will buy a bike, and a guy will buy a bike for his wife, and be a boys and girls bike, same colors and decorated the same, and or somebody will have a full-size bike and a juvenile-size bike that's painted the same, and we have a real special trophy just for that class.
Bikes entered into the show can be either original or restored.
A lot of bikes are restored. In other words, they'll take them all apart, clean everything up, re-chrome, repaint, and most of them will try to get them back as original as possible. And that, of course, the better. It's just like a car, an antique car or something. The better they look, the better, And then there's another group of bikes that we like. In fact, we have a class for each of those. Is the unrestored or the original bikes, or I've got it on the trophy, best preserved, and that's one that's all original, just like it was. It may have patina or wear and tear on it, but it's been saved and or repaired back to original condition.
At the show, you'll see well-known brands like Schwinn and Murray, but you'll also find models like Monarch, touted as the most beautiful bicycle ever built, Colson, J.C. Higgins, and Elgin. This 1930s model included a battery can to power its headlight.
We have what we call the Illinois Classic of the Year, where we get first place gets $150 cash plus a nice plaque, where most of them are just for trophies. And we've done that to try to encourage guys that's got real nice bikes to bring them out, because some of them won't even, I mean, I know a lot of these bikes are in people's living rooms or dens. They're not even in their garage. And it's real easy to skin one up when you haul it. So that's encouraged some of them to load them up, bring them some distance, and let the people see them.
The value of classic and antique bicycles depends on their rarity and condition, with originals catching the highest dollar value. As for restoration, while the cost is far less than restoring a car, a bike that once cost $60 in the 1950s can easily have upwards of $1,000 in restoration.
Like I said, there'll be some bikes that's got thousands of dollars in them. There are bikes, I don't know that there'll be any here today, but we have had bikes here that's worth way above $10,000.
Bike enthusiasts come from all walks of life and age groups. Just meet Mason Aller.
Oh, I found one at the city cleanup day we had, and I thought it was pretty cool, and I found a couple other ones, and I just took one apart and decided I was going to paint it and just went from there. Yeah, up the street I work on bikes for people in town and restore some and try to sell them to make a little bit of money.
And what's the name? Tell us about the name of your business and where you came up with the name.
Redneck Bike Shop, and I don't know where I came up with the name. I just thought it'd sound pretty cool. It's just something to do. It beats sitting inside playing video games all day.
Mason has had his customers' bikes win at the Pana show, as well as some of his own.
Yeah, I got my Duster bike, and I got some old 60s or 70s BMX bikes, and my buddy's got one of his bikes in here that I've helped him work on for a couple weeks. And I sold a bike, and it's in here now in the show, I think.
Mason says his favorite bike is one he actually made himself.
It's my drag bike. I race kids in town, and it goes 30 miles an hour. It's lime green and black. It's a pretty cool bike.
The Pana show is the only one of its kind in Illinois, with the largest show being held near Ann Arbor, Michigan. The event is held in conjunction with the Pana Mid-State Classic Car Show. Both events are held in Kitchell Park, family-friendly, and admission is free. Chances are some of those vintage bicycles from Pana at one time were ridden down to the corner store for a bottle of ice-cold Coca Cola. This next story should bring back some memories. In Decatur, we met a guy who's collected thousands of Coke-related pieces that span virtually the entire history of the company. Started in 1886 by pharmacist John Pemberton, Coca-Cola is as much a part of the American culture as baseball and apple pie. The logo, unchanged since its inception, remains one of the most recognized symbols in the world. For people like David Lee Allen of Decatur, Illinois, Coke is more than just a refreshing drink on a hot day. It's a collecting passion, and it all started with one innocent poster.
25 years ago, fresh out of college, I was Christmas help down at Spencer Gifts, and there was a picture, just a print, and I took it home and I said, I'm going to call this pop art. So basically that was my very first piece, and then things kind of multiplied around the picture. Then I bought a house and it was all over.
Filling up his home and garage with Coke items didn't take long, as the company seemed to put their namesake on just about everything, from crosswalk markers to dishes.
I think it's neat how they just put their name on everything. Things that aren't even related to, soft drinks, rulers, yo-yos. They just found anything, hairbrushes, lighters. Has nothing to do with soda pop, but they were marketing geniuses.
David's collection spans 100 plus years of Coke, including the first bottle designs, to limited edition items from the 1970s.
Coca Cola Levi's denim machine. This was a contest in 1976. Pepsi was hot on Coca Cola's tail at this time. And of course the 70s was all about, you know, hippies and party vans, and people were making these big vans with water beds in them and things like that. So this was kind of Coca-Cola's answer, and it was a huge giveaway. Coca-Cola gave away 10, but then other places, bottling plants, radio stations found out what Coke was doing, and they ordered about another 90 vans or so. So there's roughly around 100 whenever the whole contest started. Well, now after all these years, there's only about 13 left that we can find. I have 3 of the 13.
The van includes an interior made from Levi's jeans, 8-track tape player, fridge, and even a black and white TV. Modeled after Star Wars R2-D2, the Cobot is another favorite in David's collection.
It took 2 men to run it. They're the remote controls, just like the old remote control airplanes. It has a big antenna sticking off of it. And they would use these in parades and school functions and promote, you know, drinking Coke and don't do drugs and things like this. And the face of the robot is a magnet, and then the bottles on the feet also are interchangeable. So if at the time they were promoting Mellow Yellow, it could be a Mellow Yellow robot. So there's a whole kit that came with it.
David also has a good collection of Coke machines, from the earliest ice chests painted in the original Coke colors of red and green.
Then we go through the years, and they changed, of course, to the red chest. Then, of course, they started refrigerating them, so that was kind of nice. It got rid of the ice and the wetness on the bottle. Then it went to a machine, and they kind of started with a chest that had a mechanism on top, so you kind of still pulled the bottle out of the chest, but then they went to upright machines. And there's so many different styles. One of the most popular ones, the most popular one is the Vendo 39.
This hard-to-find machine is larger than most. Able to dispense more bottles than standard machines, it would have been found primarily in factory break and lunchrooms. In the 1960s, when Coke went from bottles to cans, machines were modified to include a can opener.
We hadn't invented the pop top. We've invented machines that could vend it out, but we weren't smart enough to invent the pop top yet. So the very first Coke machine that dispensed Coke out of a can actually had a can opener on it. And so you'd literally put your can in the opener and close it down, and then it would put the 2 holes in the top, just like a tomato juice can.
This salesman sample cooler is another unique piece in the collection.
And it's a miniaturized version of the actual Coke chests. And then this one is the most complete that I've ever seen. This one actually has all of the cards, and it would give you a choice. You know, the salesman could flip through the cards and actually say, you know, would you like our junior ice model or our standard ice? And it would give you a choice of whatever his market would be. If he was a small town, he just might need a smaller outfit. And so that is a very rare piece and one of the most complete ones that I've seen. It actually comes with a leather bag that the salesman would actually carry it around.
Local pieces of Decatur Coke memorabilia include a clock from the Liberty Fruit Market and a fountainhead from the Rogers Movie Theater. And from Charleston, Illinois comes a much sought-after piece of sheet music from 1915.
Follow me to the soda fountain and be my Coca-Cola girl. It was written by Earl Threlkeld, and he's actually from the Charleston area. And this is one of the most desired sheet music of the Coke collectibles. He actually used as his own calling card. If you can see on the sheet music, he has actually written on it, "I also tune and repair pianos, and if you want, phone me at this number." And the phone number is only a 4-digit number because this was 1915.
Of course, Coke is not just an American brand, it has a presence in many other countries around the world.
Also have from England, we actually have the Coca-Cola bottle that is from the Princess Diana, Prince Charles wedding. I got it right before she passed away, and of course, a couple days later, the value went up tremendously.
For David, it was always his dream that the collection would someday turn into a museum. From June of 2008 to January of 2009, his Coliseum found a home at the Hickory Point Mall in Forsyth, Illinois. In terms of volume of his collection, David jokes that his is just the big toe of collections, meaning there's more to be found, and like any passionate collector, he's always looking for more.
A collector's never done. I think I've enjoyed the van, but what I would really like is one of the old antique delivery trucks. A real one, not a toy. I want the actual truck, and if a couple different styles, of course. There's many of them out there when they were delivering in the 20s and 30s and 40s. So the old yellow delivery trucks would be the ultimate creme de la creme.
From Decatur, we headed to the small town of Strasburg to meet Dave Boyer. You could say that Dave is hooked on his hobby.
Lures are a valuable thing. I don't care whether they're 10 cents. They're still valuable to me. And I just love the things, and a lot of men are that way that fish. They just, you don't fool with their fishing stuff. I'm a fishing lure collector, okay, and I specialize in Bomber Bait Company lures. I've collected over 10 years. My wife had a cousin that brought an old tackle box here about that time frame, 11 years ago, and I looked in that box and I was just intrigued, and I was hot to buy lures, and I suppose I should knock him in the head, but I've been hooked ever since. The old lures just turned me on.
Founded in 1946 in Gainesville, Texas, the Bomber Bait Company started making lures primarily to catch bass. Originally made of cedar wood, black in color with orange eyes, bombers eventually evolved into many different styles and colors.
They make a regular bomber, and they make a bomberette, and they make a lure called a knothead, and let's see, sticks and spin sticks, mini spin sticks, midget bomberettes. It goes on and on and on. Like the bombers that the regular bomber lures that I collect, there's those like 62 catalog colors. Well, I have 69 different colors, and there's 5 different sizes, so it gets to be a large thing. It takes up a lot of room and takes all your money. And
By 1949, bombers had evolved from black and white to include 19 colors.
About 1955, it was up to 26 colors, and every year they just kept expanding. Maybe not every year adding a color, but every year or every 3 years adding 4 or 5 colors. I just have trouble thinking every color is going to catch fish. It's just that it was appealing to somebody's eye, so they made those colors. And but they are pretty when you put them all together. Well, I like that pink with white dots real well. Yeah, there's at least 5 lures in that case that you hardly ever see. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple there that are the only ones known. Mm-hmm. So that's what we shoot for, is the real rarity.
Even though his collection includes 69 colors, Dave says he's still missing 3. Having grown up using bombers to fish with, getting into collecting them was easy.
And I think you find that most people, after they've collected a few years, they'll go exclusively to one type bait because that's what they know. Mm-hmm. and they probably can't afford to collect a whole bunch of companies if they're like me. I mean, it can get costly, but typically the baits that I collect are $10. I have things that I sell and trade and to get what I want. And after you've done this a few years, it gets easier because you have things you can trade or sell, and it kind of offsets your initial output. First couple shows I went to, I didn't know if I was going to like this or not. I come home broke, you know. That's it's everything there you want, and you don't have anything except greenback dollars, and them guys just take all those.
When it comes to collecting and value, condition and rarity are important, and if possible, original packaging.
any new collector, I would advise them to buy the very best quality they can, and in the box if they can. And if it's just a little bit more, instead of buying two of something, I would buy the one that's new in the box.
While Dave's primary collection is bomber lures, he also dabbles in reels and other fishing tackle. One special showcase is his collection of boxed lures, still in their original packaging.
The two-piece boxes, as we call them, like this, the cardboard boxes, were built before 1962. Seemed like a lot of the companies in 1961 and 2, they switched to a plastic top box where you could see the lure inside. But most of these lures are pre-1960, which I just like the appearance of the boxes. I used to be, every show I went to, I tried to pick up one pretty box that I didn't have. And that's kind of how I built this little collection in here.
Dave finds most of his pieces at shows, which are usually part of the National Fishing Lure Collectors Club.
This club was founded in 1976 by 8 people. There was 8 guys that got together, and they were in the Missouri area, basically, and decided to start this club. And it's just grown since that time. And we have members from Canada, Germany, Japan.
Hosting shows around the country, Dave is the coordinator of the Illinois show, held every April in Effingham. When he's not looking for lures to collect, you can probably find Dave fishing with them. Yes, he does fish with some of the bomber lures and says they really do catch fish.
If you looked at my tackle box, you'd laugh. I can hardly pack the thing, it's so heavy, but I might need one of those lures someday. And that's one thing that kind of got me started with the bomber lures. And when I started, bomber lures were very cheap. They were hardly any more than what market value in the bait shops, but they went up a little, but not much. So it was something I could afford and use. I look, if the economy goes bad, I'm going to have the most fishing baits in the area. I can still go fishing.
Do you hate when you come in the middle of the show and miss something? Don't worry, because full episodes of Heartland Highways are online at our website at WEIU.net. We also have a full listing of contact information for the people and places in our show. And if you still need more information, just give us a call. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, Lori, I now know more about old bicycles, fishing lures, and Coca Cola than I ever did before.
And I'm going to keep my eye out for some of those orange-eyed bomber fishing lures. Thanks for joining us this week.
We'll see you next time on Heartland Highways. Heartland Highways is made possible in part by
Consolidated Communications offers customers high-speed internet, digital phone service, and digital TV service packages that include high-definition channels, DVR, and hundreds of sports, movies, and music channels. More information on these services is available at consolidated.com. Heartland Highways DVDs are available by phone or at our online store at WEIU.net. You can purchase your copy for just $20 each by using your Visa, MasterCard, or Discover. Or if you like, you can phone in your order at 1-877-PBS-WEIU during regular business hours.
From home at Flesser's Candy Kitchen in Tuscola.
You may recall.
In 3, 2, 1.
I forgot. Sorry.
Thanks for joining us. Okay. Held at the Chautauqua Auditorium. I can't say Chautauqua. Event there called the Classic and something by.
You can read.